Sorry naman, I'm sorry. So, eto na. Salitang-salita ako, hindi pala naka-share screen. So, ito po, ang topic po natin ngayon ay Electric Motors and Motor Controls, RME Review Session 2, October 1, 2021. Okay? So, induction motors get their name from the fact that they utilize the principle of electromagnetic induction. An induction motor has a stationary part or stator with windings connected to the AC supply and a rotation part or rotor which contains coils or bars. There is no electrical connection between the stator and rotor. The magnetic field produced in the stator windings induces a voltage in the rotor coils or bars. Okay? Yan. Since the stator windings act in the same way as the primary winding of a transformer, the stator of an induction motor is sometimes called the primary. Similarly, the rotor is called the secondary because it carries the induced voltage in the same way as the secondary of the transformer. Yan. Induction motors are made in sizes from fractional horsepower to several hundred horsepower. And there are few electrical systems that do not use electric motors in some capacity. From residential air conditioners and appliances to commercial HVAC equipment, elevators, and huge motors for industrial applications. Yes, a motor even starts your car in the mornings or mixes your drinks in an electric blender. For a motor to be of any practical use, it must be controlled, if only to start and stop. Therefore, all motors utilize some type of push buttons and the like. The common function, however, is the same. In every case, that is, to control some operation of an electric motor. Yan. So, let's start sa mga question and answer portion natin. Number 1, a motor controller that also serves as a disconnecting means. A. Shall open all ungrounded conductors to the motor simultaneously. Only one current carrying conductor. So, alin po diyan? So, correct answer po natin dyan ay letter A. Disconnecting means. So, yun po ang ibig sabihin nun. So, motor controller serves as a disconnecting means. It shall open all ungrounded conductors to the motor simultaneously. So, saan po ba natin nakuha yan? Sa Philippine Electrical Code. Article 4.30.7.4. The controller shall not be required to open all conductors to the motor. Oh, hindi pala dapat ini-open ang conductors to the motor as provided in 4.30.9.11. Ungrounded conductors must be disconnected from the motor simultaneously. 430.111. Section 430.111A. Oh, let's see the figure 9-1. So, ito po yung ating figure. Nakita nyo yung figure natin. So, meron tayong all ungrounded conductors must be opened when a motor controller also serves as a disconnect. So, ito po yung disconnect switch ng ating motor controller. Yan, disconnect switch. And then, ito po yung ating control circuit line voltage switch. So, dapat all ungrounded conductors must be opened. So, i-open natin to. Okay. Next. The branch circuit overcurrent device may serve as the controller for stationary motors rated less than blank. Okay. So, rated less than blank. So, A, 20 horsepower, B, 1/8 horsepower, C, 15 horsepower, D, 5 horsepower. So, alin po dyan ang tamang sagot? The branch circuit overcurrent device may serve as the controller for stationary motors rated less than blank. A, 20 horsepower, B, 1/8 horsepower, C, 15 horsepower, or D, 5 horsepower. So, correct answer po natin dyan ay B, 1/8 horsepower. 1/8 horsepower. So, kung 1/8 horsepower, paano natin nalaman na 1/8 horsepower ang tamang sagot? So, tiningnan po natin yan sa Philippine Electrical Code at sa National Electrical Code. Sa Philippine Electrical Code, Article 4.30.7.1, stationary motors of 1/8 horsepower or less. So, for stationary motor rated at 1/8 horsepower or less, that is normally left running and is constructed so that it cannot be damaged. Code. And from National Electrical Code naman, small motors, 1/8 horsepower or less, may use the branch circuit fuse or circuit breaker as a means of disconnecting and de-energize. So, nandun po, nasusulat. Number 3. A disconnecting means for a 2,300 volt motor must be capable of being locked in the blank. Okay? A disconnecting means for a 2,300 volt motor must be capable of being locked in the blank. A, closed position. B, open position. Open and closed position. C, open position. D, on position. So, ibig sabihin yung letter B dito, hindi na natin pwedeng piliin. Kasi, must be capable of being locked. So, isa lang ang pipiliin mo talaga. Close or open position lang. O, meron pa tayong on position. So, pag iyong isipin, yung on at saka yung close, parang iisa na. Diba? So, tamang sagot natin, open position. So, tamang sagot natin, open position. O, tama yung nahuli nating pinili. Ang tawag natin doon, tawag dito natin, pagbabawas ng pamimilian. So, binabawasan natin yung pamimilian. So, yung letter B, automatic, cancel na yon, open and close position. So, hindi na natin pwedeng piliin yun. And yung A at saka D, parang pareho lang din siya eh. Close position, tapos yung isa, on position. Yung on position is also a close position ng switch natin. So, iisa na ang ating mapipili. Letter C na lang, open position. So, nanggaling po yan sa Philippine Electrical Code uli. So, Article 4.30.11 over 600 volts nominal. So, the disconnecting means, the controller disconnecting means shall be capable of being locked in the open position. Okay, sa over 600 volts nominal. So, yung ating tanong naman ay 2,300 volts. So, ito ay over 600 volts. And from National Electrical Code naman, all motors must be connected to a disconnecting means. However, motors over 600 volts must also be provided with a means of locking the disconnect open so that it cannot be inadvertently closed when someone is working on the motor. So, National Electrical Code 430.227. Okay. Number 4. Each continuous duty motor rated at more than 1 hour must be protected against overload by an approved method. Okay. Each continuous duty rated at more than what horsepower must be protected against overload by an approved method. So, 1/8 horsepower, A. B, 1/2 horsepower. C, 1/4 horsepower. Or D, 1 horsepower. Correct answer is 1 horsepower. Okay, saan natin nakuha yan? So, sa PEC pa rin, sa National Electrical Code. From PEC, over 1 horsepower. Motors of ratings larger than specified in 4.30.4.3a shall be permitted to be connected to general purpose branch circuit only where each motor is protected by overload protection, selected to protect the motor as specified in 4.30.3.2. So, letter B, over 1 horsepower. Okay? From National Electrical Code naman, smaller motors under 1 horsepower such as those used to power fans, drill presses, etc. do not require overload protection. However, the larger motors, 1 horsepower or over, that are used to drive heavy machinery do require heaters or other types of approved overload protection. So, National Electrical Code, Section 430.32a. So, dun po yan nakuha. So, bali dalawa po ang ating ang kinukunan natin ng sagot. Galing sa Philippine Electrical Code at saka galing sa National Electrical Code. Okay? So, Philippine Electrical Code ay, siyempre, yung ating ginagamit dito. And then, National Electrical Code naman, galing po yan sa Amerika. So, halos parehas na parehas po ng sila ng mga articles. Kaya lang, ang pinagkakaiba lang po nila, distinct na pinagkaiba nila ay yung units. Kasi yung ating Philippine Electrical Code ay nasa English system. Yung Philippine Electrical Code pala ay nasa, tawag dito, SI unit, naka-SI unit. Yung National Electrical Code naman ay nasa English. So, ibig sabihin, naka-feet, inches, yung ating National Electrical Code. Yung ating Philippine Electrical Code ay naka-SI in meters, millimeters, centimeters. So, ayun. Okay. Next. Number 5. A disconnecting means that must be visible from a motor location must not be farther than blank. So, gaano daw bang alayo? Disconnecting means that must be visible from a motor location must not be farther than blank. So, not farther than 50 feet. Okay, 50 feet. So, ibig sabihin, ang tanong na to nanggaling sa Amerika. Kasi nga, ang ating pamimilihan ay in feet. Okay? So, pagdating sa National Electrical Code, where the National Electrical Code specifies that one item or piece of equipment shall be in sight, from, within sight, from, or within sight, etc. of another item or piece of equipment, they must not be more than 50 feet apart. So, National Electrical Code, Article 100, definition, disconnecting means, Figure 9-2. Sa Philippine Electrical Code naman, nakalagay lang ay, a disconnecting means shall be located in sight from the motor location and the driven machinery location. So, walang specified na nakalagay na sukat. So, siguro hindi ko lang ito masyadong nakita rin, pero susubukan natin na makita natin yung talagang kung merong value sa Philippine Electrical Code. Pero pagdating sa National Electrical Code, meron siyang nakalagay 50 feet apart. Okay? So, let's see the figure 9-2. So, ito po. So, NEC definition, within sight, from. So, meron kang disconnect na naandun, and then 50 feet from the equipment. Okay? So, that is the maximum, 50 feet. Okay. So, ayan po. Next, number 6. A 20 ampere AC alternating current snap switch may disconnect a 2 horsepower motor with a maximum full load current of blank. A 16, B 10, C 20 amperes, and D 18 amperes. At 20 ampere AC snap switch may disconnect a 2 horsepower motor. So 2 horsepower motor with a maximum full load current of blank. So alin dyan? 16, 10, 20, 18. So correct answer is 16. Okay. So 20 ampere AC snap switch. So kapag ginamit pa natin yung 20, masyadong di syempre baka break even na yung ating switch kasi 20 amperes din yung ating capacity lang niya 20. Di ba? So kaya kailangan medyo babaan mo ng konti. Yung 10 naman sobrang baba naman nun. So dalawa na lang pamimili natin, 16 and 18. So para mas maganda, tingnan natin sa ating Philippine Electrical Code. So 4.4.1.14 Rating and use of snap switches. So A form of general use snap switch suitable only for use on AC circuits for controlling the following. So A, tapos number 3 na agad. So meron pa yung number 1 saka number 2. So ang nilagay ko na lang po ay number 3 kasi nandun po yung sagot. Motor loads not exceeding 80% of the ampere rating of the switch at its rated voltage. So yun po yun. Motor loads not exceeding 80% of the ampere rating of the switch at its rated voltage. So from National Electrical Code naman, a snap switch used to disconnect a motor must be derated 80%. Therefore, 20 amperes times 0.8 is equal to 16. Okay? So from National Electrical Code 430.109. Okay. So sa mga manonood po, shout out po dyan sa inyong lahat. Ang dami po ninyo, 3,000, 3,000. Ang dami ng manonood ko. Dadami yan, syempre. Hindi lang tayo medyo pa ngayon. Pagka malapit na yung registered master electrician exam, dadami lalo yan. So sa ngayon medyo malayo pa, kaya exam lang eh. So maganda na yung nakapagsimula na agad tayo kasi video na agad ito eh. May video na agad tayo eh. So number 7, live parts. Live parts of motors must be guarded if they operate at or over blank. Ayan. A, 150 volts. B, 50 volts. C, 100 volts. Or D, 75 volts. Live parts of motors must be guarded if they operate at or over blank. Okay, so correct answer po natin ay correct answer 50 volts. Okay, 50 volts. So saan po natin makikita yan? Sa Philippine Electrical Code 4.30.12.2. Yan. Shall be guarded against accidental contact by enclosure or by location as follows. Ayan. So, nakalagay. Hindi ko na nilagay yung follows kasi masyadong haba eh. So, kung meron po tayong Philippine Electrical Code, pwede naman po natin yung buksan. Okay? So, operating at 50 volts or more. So, from National Electrical Code naman, section 430.232 requires exposed live parts of motors and controllers operating at 50 volts or more between terminals to be guarded against accidental contact. Yan. Number 8. The smallest size conduit allowed to enclose motor terminals from a junction box is blank. Yan. The smallest size conduit allowed to enclose motor terminals from junction box is blank. So, correct answer po natin dyan ay 3/8. 3/8 inch. So, malapit nang mag 1/2 inch pero 3/8 po ang tamang sagot. So, galing sa National Electrical Code, ito muna ating basahin. From National Electrical Code, a junction box to house motor terminals shall be run in general in flexible or rigid metal raceway and must not be smaller than 3/8 inch electrical trade size. Or National Electrical Code Section 430.245. So, yan po yung ating from National Electrical Code. At galing naman sa Philippine Electrical Code, so kung mapapansin nyo, wala tayong nakasulat ditong wala tayong nakasulat na 3/8. Okay? Wala tayong nakasulat na 3/8. Nabagal yung aking internet. So, separation of junction box from motor. The junction box required by 4 are stranded conductors within type AC cable, interlocked metal tape, type MC cable were listed and identified in accordance with 2.50.6.910A. So, or armored cable or are stranded leads enclosed in liquid tight flexible metal conduit. Flexible metal conduit, intermediate metal conduit, rigid metal conduit, or electrical metallic tubing, not smaller than metric designator 12 trade size. So, yun lang po ang binanggit. Not smaller than metric designator 12 trade size. Ay, ano bang tanong? Yung pinakamaliit daw na size ng ating conduit. Okay? So, nakalagay naman dito, not smaller than metric designator 12 trade size. The armor or raceway being connected both to the motor and to the box. So, kung mapapansin nyo, designator 12 ang nakalagay. So, pagdating naman sa National Electrical Code, 3/8 inch. So, tingnan natin kung tama ba yung 3/8 inch sa yung designator 12 trade size. So, makikita natin yan dito. Ayan. So, metric designator 12 is equivalent to 3/8 trade size. So, parehas lang po sila. Okay? So, parehas lang po yung 3/8 trade size, yung designator, metric designator 12, sa yung 3/8 trade size. Parehas lang po sila. Okay? So, kasunod. Number 9. Motor controller enclosures must be grounded. A. At all voltages. B. If above 600 volts. C. If above 50 volts. Or D. If 240 volts or more. Yan. So, alin po diyan ang tamang sagot? Motor controller enclosures must be grounded at all voltages, if above 600 volts, if above 50 volts, or if 240 volts or more. So, correct answer po natin dyan ay letter A, at all voltages. At all voltages. So, saan po natin makikita yan? So, from Philippine Electrical Code, Article 4.30.8.5, grounding. Multi-section motor control centers shall be bonded together with an equipment grounding conductor or an equivalent grounding bus size in accordance with Table 2.50.6.13. Okay? Equipment grounding conductor shall terminate on this grounding bus or to a grounding termination point provided in a single section motor control center. O yan. So yan, nakalagay dyan. So from National Electrical Code naman, states that controller enclosures shall be grounded regardless of voltage and must have a means for attaching an equipment grounding conductor as per National Electrical Code Section 250.8. Okay? So, binanggit na all voltage must be grounded. Okay, at all voltage levels. So, number 10. A branch circuit is supplying a single hermetic refrigerant motor compressor, or an air conditioning unit in a single family dwelling. The hermetic refrigerant motor compressor rated load current is 18 amperes. If a 30 ampere fuse will not carry the motor compressor's starting current, the maximum rating of the branch circuit over current protective device may be increased to blank. O yan. So, hindi daw kaya nung 30 ampere fuse. If a 30 ampere fuse will not carry the motor compressor's starting current. So, hindi kakayanin yung starting current ng ating motor compressor. Rated load current is 18 amperes. So, over current protective device may be increased to blank. How much pala? So, it is 40 amperes. Okay? 40 amperes ang tamang sagot. So, according to PEC, where the protection specified is not sufficient for the starting current of the motor, the rating or setting shall be permitted to be increased but shall not exceed 225% of the motor rated load current or branch circuit selection current, whichever is greater. Okay, so 225%. So, the protective device can be increased also, but from National Electrical Code naman, the protective device can be increased also but shall not exceed 225%. Kung mapapansin nyo, tulad lang po silang dalawa. Tulad lang, di ba? Tulad lang. So, correct answer natin is 40 amperes. So, nawala yung ating computation dito. 40 amperes. So, 18 times, try nga natin. Compute natin ha. 5%, 40.50. So, madadagdagan po yung ating 30 ampere fuse ng 10 ampere fuse. Ng 40 ampere fuse. Gagawin po natin siyang 40 amperes yung ating overcurrent protective device. Okay, number 11 tayo. The minimum size liquid tight flexible metal conduit, okay, LFMC, for general use is blank. A, 3/8 inch, B, 3/4 inch, C, 1/2 inch, or D, 11/2 inch. Ang laki naman ng 11/2. So, malamang 1 1/2 yan. Siguro nagkadikit lang. 1 1/2. So, alin po dyan ang pinakantamang sagot? 3/8, 3/4, 1/2, 1 1/2. Correct answer is 1/2 inch. The minimum size liquid tight flexible metal conduit, LFMC, for general use is 1/2 inch. Pero kung mapapansin nyo kanina do sa previous question natin, meron tayong nabanggit na 3/8 inch dun eh. Di ba? Yung pinaka maliit. So, nasa exception naman yun. So, ito naman, 1/2 inch. For general use. For general use naman yan. So, nandito naman yan, from PEC Article 3.5, liquid tight flexible metal conduit, or type LFMC. So, yan po yung title ng Article 3.5. 3.5.2.11 size. Minimum ng LFMC ay smaller than 15 mm electrical trade size shall not be used. So, smaller than 15 mm electrical trade size. So, ito yung exemption na sinasabi natin kanina. Exception. Okay? 10 mm electrical trade size shall be permitted as covered in 3.48.2.11a. And letter B, the maximum size of LFMC shall be 100 mm electrical trade size. Kaya lang, yung pamimilian natin ay wala po dun sa ating mga nabanggit pagdating sa Philippine Electrical Code. Kasi po, ang mga nakalagay dun ay in English system. So, from National Electrical Code, liquid tight flexible metal conduit smaller than 1/2 inch electrical trade size metric designator 16 must not be used. So, according to National Electrical Code section 358.20A. Okay. So, ayan po. So, meron tayong liquid tight flexible metal conduit smaller than 1/2 inch electrical trade size. Okay? So, tingnan natin kung tama ba yung ating 15 mm at saka yung 1/2 inch. So, ang tamang sagot po natin, 1/2 inch siya. So, according to National Electrical Code, tama yung 1/2 inch. Pero pagdating sa ating sa ating Philippine Electrical Code, tingnan natin kung tama ba yung LFMC, yung ating 15 mm electrical trade size. Okay? So, electrical trade size, ayun. Pag inches, 1/2. Pag millimeter, 16. So, almost malapit na rin sa ating 15 mm. Kaya kung titingnan natin dito, sa 1 inch is equal to 25.4 mm. So, kaya pagkalahating inch, ang nangyari dito ay 1/2 inch. So, pagdating sa millimeter, 25.4 divided, nasa 13 lang di ba? Nasa kulang-kulang 13. So, mas maliit pa rin, sa 16 mm. Pero ito po yung katumbas niya, Pero pagdating dun sa ating electrical code, Philippine Electrical Code, 15 mm ang nakalagay. 15 mm. Okay. So, correct answer natin, 1/2. So, ito po yung ating LFMC. Baka po hindi nyo, hindi figure. So, nandyan yun. LFMC, nasan yun? Liquid tight flexible metal conduit. Metallic conduit or metal conduit. So, yun po yun. So, number 12. Which of the following statements about liquid tight flexible metal conduit are correct? 1. Liquid tight flexible metal conduit shall not be used where subject to physical damage. Or 2. Liquid tight flexible metal conduit shall be used only with listed fittings. Alin po diyan? A. 1 only. B. 2 only. C. Both 1 and 2. Or D. Neither 1 nor 2. So, ibig sabihin ng D, wala dun sa pamimili, wala dun sa 1 and 2. Yung C, pareho. Yung A at saka B, pumili lang ng tig-isa. Okay? So, alin dyan ang pipiliin natin? The correct answer is B. Parehas pong nasusulat yan. So, ibig sabihin daw, liquid tight flexible metal conduit shall not be used where subject to physical damage. Kapag subject siya sa physical damage, so hindi siya pwedeng gamitin. And liquid tight flexible metal conduit shall be used only with listed fittings. So, nandito po. Hello. Yan. Babalik po tayo. Number 13. The conductors of a feeder supplying two continuous duty motors. So, paano natin ko-computein yan ngayon? Yung isa, 7.5 horsepower. Yung isa naman, 10 horsepower. So, pareha silang 240 volts DC. Ano po yung current rating ng ating feeder? So, correct answer is 77. So, paano po nangyari yung 77 amperes? Paano po natin makukuha yung 77 amperes? So, nandito po yan. According to National Electrical Code, Section 430.24 and Table 430.247 list the 7.5 horsepower motor at 29 amps and the 10 horsepower motor at 38 amps. Therefore, 29 plus 38, 67 is equal to 67 amps plus 25% of the highest rated motor in the group, 9.5 amps. O alin ba yung yung highest rated motor natin? So yung ating highest rated motor, yun po yung 38. I-multiply po natin siya ng 25%. So nakuha natin yung 9.5 amperes for a total of 76.5 amps, which rounds up to 77 amps. So ganun po yun. Pagdating naman sa Philippine Electrical Code, several motors or motors and other loads, conductors supplying several motors or a motor and other loads shall have an ampacity not less than 125% of the full load current rating of the highest rated motor plus the sum of the full load current ratings of all the other motors in the group. Yun. As determined by 4.30.1.6 plus the ampacity required for the other loads. So, pagsasama-samahin natin yung mga motor plus isasama natin yung pinakamataas pero i-multiply natin ng 125%. So, doon naman sa kabila, sa National Electrical Code, i-multiply natin ng 25% yung ating highest rated motor. Okay? Tapos, ipa-plus din natin yun. So, ganun po. Kaya nakuha natin yung 77 amperes po yun. So, nandito po yung table natin. Baka kasi hanapin nyo pa sa Philippine Electrical Code. So, 4.30.14 tables. So, pagka 7.5 horsepower, nasan yung 240 volts? Ayun, 29. Makita natin 29 sa 240 volts. And then yung kasunod ay 10 horsepower na agad yung kasunod. 38 naman sa 240 volts. Tingnan nyo po yung column ng 240 volts. And then, hanapin nyo yung katapat na 7.5 horsepower at saka yung 10 horsepower. So, doon nyo po makikita yung 28, 29 at saka 38. Okay. Number 14. A motor disconnecting means must blank. A. Disconnect only the motor. B. Disconnect only the controller. C. Disconnect both the motor and controller. Or D. Disconnect the motor. So, correct answer natin ay disconnect. Pareho. Yung motor and controller. Yung motor disconnecting means must disconnect both the motor and the controller. So, from National Electrical Code, Article 430.75A. A motor disconnecting means should be installed on the line side of the controller so that both the controller and motor are disconnected simultaneously. And from the Philippine Electrical Code, 4.30.9.1. So, is intended to require disconnecting means capable of disconnecting motors and controllers from the circuit. So, parehas. Halos parehong-pareho lang yung ating National Electrical Code at saka yung ating Philippine Electrical Code. Number 15. If a conductor is covered, it is blank. Okay? If a conductor is covered, it is blank. A. In case with an insulation recognized by the code. B. In case with an outer covering not recognized as electrical insulation by the code. C. Effectively isolated from ground faults. D. Covered with a material of a composition and thickness recognized by Underwriter's Laboratory or UL. Correct answer po natin dyan ay letter B. In case with an outer covering not recognized as electrical insulation by the code. So, conductor is covered. So, saan po natin makikita yan? sa definition. So, from Philippine Electrical Code definitions, page 9. Okay? So, from National Electrical Code, a covered conductor is a conductor encased within a material of composition or thickness that is not recognized by code as electrical insulation. So, hindi ko na po inilagay yung mismong article do sa ating from PEC. Kasi hindi naman yung nakasulat dun sa National Electrical Code. Actually, parehas na parehas lang po sila. Okay? Number 16. Open motors with commutators shall be located so sparks cannot reach adjacent combustible material, but this blank is only required for over 600 volts, does not prohibit these motors from a class 1 location, or letter C, shall not prohibit these motors on wooden floors. Ayan. So, correct answer dyan, letter C. Okay. Shall not prohibit these motors on wooden floors. Okay. So, from National Electrical Code, nasa Section 430.14B, exception. Installation of such motors must be located away from combustible material. However, the code makes exception for installations on wooden floors or supports. And from PEC, location of motors naman, 4.30.1.14. So, letter B, open motors that have commutators or collector rings sected so that sparks cannot reach adjacent combustible material. So, installation of these motors, nasa exception, installation of these motors on wooden floors or support shall be permitted. So, exception yun. Exception. So, dun po nakita yung ating para nakakuha natin yung sagot. 4.30.1.14. Location of motors. Number 17. The branch circuit conductor supplying a motor that draws 40 amperes and operates for 3 hours or more must have an ampacity not less than blank. Okay, ano daw yung magiging ampacity niya? So, correct answer is 50 amperes. So, ano yung multiplier natin? Yung basang-basa na natin na multiplier, 1.25. So, nakalagay sa National Electrical Code. Branch circuit conductor supplying a single motor at continuous duty, 3 hours or more, must have an ampacity of not less than 125% of the motor full load current rating. Therefore, 40 times 1.25 is equal to 50 amperes. Sa PEC naman, Article 4.30.2.2. So, nandun din, nakasulat din. General, conductors that supply a single motor used in a continuous duty application shall have an ampacity of not less than 125% of the motor's full load current rating as determined by 4.30.1.6a. Okay? So, yan po yun. Number 18. If no other information is given, a continuous duty motor that draws 100 amperes must be protected by an overload device rated at not more than blank. If no other information is given. Ano daw yung continuous duty motor daw natin na merong 100 amperes must be protected by an overload device rated at not more than blank. So, nasusulat po yan. So, 115 amperes po ang sagot natin, letter D. So, nasusulat po yan sa National Electrical Code natin. Section 430.32a. States that each continuous duty motor circuit must be protected against overload by a separate overload device. This device must be selected to trip at no more than 115%. Okay? If no other information about the motor is known. Yun. So, from National Electrical Code yan. From Philippine Electrical Code naman, so nandyan po yan. So, separate overload device, a separate overload device that is responsive to motor current. This device shall be selected to trip or shall be rated at no more than the following, 115%. So, number 19. The branch circuit overcurrent device may serve as the disconnecting means for motor-driven appliances rated not over blank. Okay, the branch circuit overcurrent device may serve as the disconnecting means for motor-driven appliances rated not over blank. So, yung ating overcurrent device, siya na rin po yung magsaserve as disconnecting means. Correct answer is 1/8 horsepower. Maliliit na motor yan. May be used to serve as a disconnecting means. Ayan. So, NEC section 422.31A. From Philippine Electrical Code naman, Article 4.22.3.2. Kung mapapansin nyo yung kanyang mga numbers, parehas din halos Philippine Electrical Code. Halos pareho lang. So, nagkaroon lang ng point sa Philippine Electrical Code. Instead of 422, naging 4.22. Okay. Tapos, ang nakasulat pa, parehas din. Mapapansin nyo, for permanently connected appliances rated at not over 300 volt amperes or horsepower, the branch circuit overcurrent device shall be permitted to serve as the disconnecting means. Okay. So, parehas din halos ang nakasulat. So, nakalagay 1/8 horsepower. Diba? Number 20. A power factor correction capacitor connected on the load side of the overload device of a motor reduces the line current by 20%. If the full load current of the motor is 100 amperes. The setting of an overload device in the circuit is based on a current of blank. Yan. A power factor correction capacitor connected on the load side of the overload device of a motor reduces the line current by 20%. If the full load current of the motor is 100 amperes. So, 100 amperes, 80-20 rin, di ba? So, overload device settings from National Electrical Code. Full load current times percent factor. 100 times 0.8. Ayun, 80 amperes. Eksakto. Galing naman sa Philippine Electrical Code where a motor installation includes a capacitor connected on the load side of the motor overload device. The rating or setting of the motor overload device shall be based on the improved power factor of the motor equal to the sum of the full load current rating of all the motors plus percent. Conductors supplying 2 or more motors must have an ampacity equal to the sum of the full load current rating of all the motors plus what percent of the highest rated motor in the group. So, 25%. Or pagdating sa Philippine Electrical Code, 1.25 times yung highest rated motor natin. So, ito rin po yung nakasulat kanina rin sa nauna. Doon sa tayo merong multiply na and other loads shall have an ampacity not less than 125% of the full load current rating of the highest rated motor plus the same of the full load current ratings of all the other motors in the group as determined by 4.30.1.6a. So, yun din yung nakasulat kanina. Number 22. What may the lock rotor current be